What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 41 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the coolest dudes in video games, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller.
Hello.
Got a fuzz on my shirt. Got it, though.
Buzz happens, man. Now, a lot of people have been like telling me, hey, Tim, you can make the Gamescast better if you get guests. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do that. Get motherfucking Adam Sessler here.
Oh,
Deal with it. You don't get much better than that.
That's very kind.
So we're going to be talking about video games for the next hour or so, and I'm very excited about that. We got a great show planned today, and for those of you that do not know, this is a show that every week we just talk about video games for about an hour, and it's great. But today we're doing it with Adam Sessler. You want to get this show? What?
And with Adam Sessler, and your shoes match your shirt.
My shoes do match my shirt.
Bring it up. There it is. Look at that.
Wow.
Look at this
These
coordination.
are old loves for those that know out there. I'm very.
It looks like old Pittsburgh Penguins colors from the late 80s, early 90s.
I was thinking Steelers, so yeah.
Is that like the one outfit where that works, though?
It is. It's a long story. I got the shirt. Shout out to Cunning Linguist and Tone Deaf for hooking me up with the shirt, the Thugged Out Since Cub Scout shirt, which I love.
That's cute.
So much. It describes me in such a beautiful way. I've had these shoes for a long time. They're beautiful, but I don't get to wear them too often.
Yeah.
They're pretty loud.
I got Slimer
kids
pizza
say.
shoes out there. I've never worn. I'm still waiting for the shirt that goes with those.
And you got your Capri Sun shoes as well. That you
Yeah,
have.
well, those
They're
are a
Capri
work of
Suns.
art. My hashtag pouch up because of Capri Sun shoes.
I'll never
pouch
forget
up.
when you got that when we were at IGN. I'm like, what?
Yeah, wait. Can we see them? Where they at?
No, they can't see them.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
over there.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
we
yeah.
can see
Yeah, I
them.
don't know.
If you put them in the freezer, do they become a popsicle?
Sadly,
That would be
badass. Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I'm very thrilled about how this outfit looks. I'm very
Mizzou
happy,
colors, I like it.
Very happy about it. It reminds me of an older time, like a couple of years ago, back when I was younger, which is weird of how that works.
Yeah.
But this is how I used to dress in high school all the time. So I'm happy that I can bring it back for a new generation of
Good.
kids, the teens out there. They need to look up to something. I hope that it's me. So this show, every week we talk about video games. You should go to itunes.com/kindoffunny, rate, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. It'll help make us feel really happy about everything. So we can keep doing this, keep getting awesome guests like Adam Sessler to talk about stuff. The first topic of the day is horror games.
Ooh.
What makes a good horror game? Now this is spurred by a little something special, some project that you're working on.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this.
So I have the pleasure of getting to work with, it's a small team right now. It's a mixture of Gun Media and another group called Ilphonic. And they were, once upon a time, it was already announced, working on a game called Slasher Volume 1 Summer Camp. It was an homage to 1980s slasher flicks. You can probably imagine it. It's asymmetric multiplayer. One person plays the killer, 7 people play counselors. The point is for the killer to kill all the counselors, and for the counselors to escape or make it through the night, or possibly kill the guy who's hunting them. Obviously, this game implied certain famous movie franchises like Friday the 13th without actually being Friday the 13th. But the guy's actually gone so far as to enlist the help of Tom Savini, the very famous makeup artist who worked on both Friday the 13th Part 1 and 4, and he's very famous for the original Dawn of the Dead. The guy is just a genius. So he's coming on to help design the kills. And what's really cool is to help design the kills to make sure that they could still exist as a practical effect inside of a movie, not take advantage of what you can play with physics and video games, but to really give it that sense of being grounded. They also were working with Kane Hodder, who played Jason in 7, 8, and 9. May not be the best movies, but his representation of Jason is the one that I think stands the test of time.
Spot on.
And is what is in everyone's memory. He was going to be doing the mocap. So because of their participation, word got to a gentleman named Sean S. Cunningham, who directed the first Friday the 13th and is the man who owns the license to the franchise. He heard about this, and he's like, well, I've been waiting for a game, a good game, to give the Friday the 13th a license to, and he gave it to them, gratis. And
That's crazy.
Yeah. So now, the game they were always implying, the franchise they were implying with the game, now gets to be that game. That's why they've gone back to Kickstarter, because while they were funded sufficiently to make Summer Camp, the requirements, now with the accuracy, recreating Crystal Lake, making Jason's actually, and all of that is going to require more money. And so we're going out asking for people to donate, or at the very least, I'm here to say, hey, if you have $2, $5, $10, that actually can make a huge difference. Additionally, if you can't do that, I understand. If you want to just kind of signal boost and get the word out.
Just tell people about it.
But this is
Like this link.
Right here.
Yeah.
Go to it. And then in the description, you can click over to the Kickstarter itself.
But when I was told about this game, and I've loved horror movies all my life. It's actually why I married my wife. We both loved an academic text called Men, Women, and Chainsaws, which is just a
Once you heard that, you're like,
great,
well, we got to be together.
Examination of horror movies. But this, because not just because the asymmetric, because it plays up to that dream of when you're watching the movies and you're seeing what you think are dumb decisions being made. And it's like, you get to go in there and you get to, and I've in looking at the game and talking with them, those dumb decisions may happen more frequently where it's like, okay, we want to get the parts for the car because we want to get out of here. Let's split up. The fundamental bad idea in every single horror movie. And I love the other aspect where it is asymmetric, but say, as opposed to something like Evolve or Spies versus Mercs, the goal is not for there to eventually be conflict. If you are the counselors, it might be in your best interest never to see Jason through the course of the game. Maybe you just join up with one other person and try to work together. Maybe you don't want to join up with all 7 counselors because you're all in the same place. So if he shows up, it's
over, game over.
It's fish in a barrel. You play various archetypes. The jock. There's the girl who's a little bit edgy. You can imagine all that. And they'll have various skills. So there is an encouragement. You might want to work with 1 or 2 people. Obviously, some will be faster than others. So while it is kind of 1v7, it's really 1v1v1v1v1. Because the only thing that you want to do is you want to make it through the night. Not everyone has to make it through the night. You do. So you could work in concert with someone for a little bit, and then Jason shows up and you can run faster. Okay, by the laws of the jungle.
Yeah.
If you guys work on the boat, that's great, except the boat only carries 2 people. So what if you have 3 people who are all trying to work on getting it? So there's a wonderful sense of both teamwork and treachery and that wonderful sort of tension. It really kind of captures, I think, the spirit of what those movies always wanted to do, which is you feel helpless, against this highly overpowered enemy, and whether or not you sort of have the wherewithal and how clever you are to make it through the evening.
So is it like permadeath? If Jason gets you and kills you, you're out of that. You're out that match.
Yes, and then you'll get to watch what happens to everyone else. You can scream all you want, and they can't hear you, just like in the movie.
Don't go there. What is the nature of? So it's taking place. Friday the 13th near and dear to my heart. I actually really love that series. Super iconic. I think that I think of like a trilogy of iconic 80s style, maybe late 70s, like Halloween, and then you have Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. And Jason always spoke to me. I always thought that was the creepiest one. What I always talk about is that I always loved as a kid and still do, like when I look at it, the way that movie looks during the daytime, the juxtaposition of like the trees being green and the blue sky or whatever, and how that seems so beautiful and welcoming, and then how harrowing that same scenario becomes when it's dark. I just think it's like very simple and very forthcoming, and I like that. So since this is going to take place at Crystal Lake, what are the maps? Is it one map, or are there like many different sections of it?
This is interesting, and here's one thing I had never really considered. Episode 1 through 4, that takes place over a period of 3 weeks. Jason doesn't really stop. It's not like he rests for a year and decides to reemerge. No, he's on a killing spree. So that should give you a sense of there's a lot more geography. We all think of the camp. That's where it starts. But there are other locations. It's a lake, and people have summer homes and stuff like that there. So all of that is going to be incorporated. So in essence, there's one map. And initially when they're working on it, they had a very, very big map, and it was just too big. The length of time for Jason to finally encounter it was taking too long.
Counselors are hiding in one corner forever.
So now it's in essence one map, but it will be somewhat randomized. So you're gonna have elements like a barn, this stuff you've seen in the movies. So you won't be playing the exact same map every time, but you are playing at Crystal Lake every time.
And are you playing as any of the kids from the movies, or are these going to be like the?
Because of licensing issues, they cannot replicate those because those are actors.
Right.
I mean, Kevin Bacon was in the first one, but you are playing. I think you should expect to play familiar characters to what you know from the movies.
The archetypes, right?
Cool. It sounds.
And also, you're not just playing as one Jason. There will be multiple Jasons because
based on the different movie iterations.
At the movies, and I've watched all of them back to back. That is a fascinating tour of the 1980s
insane.
style and value system. But you have the bag over the head for 2.
Yeah.
You obviously have someone very different in 1. Then Hockey Mask emerges in 3. But then you have Coming Back from the Dead in 6, and then I've Been Underwater getting really rotten from 7 through 9. And so they're going to be showing variants of Jason. The only two that they've committed to right now is 3, which is called Big Neck, because they had put a prosthetic there on the back of his neck to kind of give it a sense of bone there. And obviously the very famous Kane Hodder version that is 7 through 9.
Oh, with the metal mask.
What is the nature? Do you guys have? I don't know if you have to figure this out in the future. Like a price point? Is this a retail game or a downloadable game? Like what can people expect in terms of like delivery?
I mean, right now the determination is PC, Xbox One, PS4. I think it's fair to assume that retail would be the goal with this. I don't want to fully commit on that right now because you just caught me off guard.
Sorry, I'm trying to imagine in my head, like, is it a $20 game? Is it a $40 game? Is it a $60 game? Like, even though those don't really mean anything, but they kind of do in the sense it gives you an idea.
They do. Yeah. They do. That's a. I need to give you an honest answer. We're in the middle of the Kickstarter right now, and that might be putting that cart well in front of that horse. And I think the success of the Kickstarter will determine a lot of those matters
for sure.
Well.
Like many Kickstarters. I mean, right now the Kickstarter. Last we looked, it just crossed 150,000.
Yes,
as of recording,
so
it started today.
Right now, yeah.
So I mean, which is very, very exciting. Obviously, we're aiming for 700,000, which is a lot of money. But that really has been well thought out about what is necessary to get all of those art assets in. And also they feel that if you go look at the Kickstarter page, I mean, they're very, very honest that they don't want to mess this up.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they want to make gamers happy, but they also have like hardcore fans of Friday the 13th. And there's even one kid this morning who, when he saw, the art for the announcement, he knew exactly that was Friday the 13th Part 3, that because of the state of the hockey mask, it had to be from that movie.
Yeah.
They are planning to give that level of attention to detail to really serve that fan base, and that just does cost more money.
And I mean, that's what's exciting though, is the getting it right aspects about it. And just
Exactly.
hearing you talk about like knowing the differences between all of the different Jasons, and there's different levels obviously of Friday the 13th fans, where there's the people that are like, oh man, like I love those movies and whatever, and then there's the guys that are like, I love those movies, and this needs to kind of make both those teams kind of happen.
And I think so. I think there's some people that may not understand the level of detail, but what it is offering in terms of a gameplay experience, I think really is unique. And I think, the guys who are already playing it, and obviously it's all being prototyped right now.
Sure,
working first on the gameplay, and then art will go on top of that. It's already pretty scary that you already have that sense that there's something out there, because unlike the movies, because you're playing the game, there's something bad out there. If you go look at the movies, full awareness that there's someone killing everyone doesn't happen until about the last reel. That's why people are like, hey, let's take our clothes off, because they don't know there's a killer out there. And that's why they're taking their clothes off. And so that changes the dynamic a little bit, where you're planning, you want to get out of there, you want to be quiet as possible, you don't want to, sort of draw the attention of Jason, but that there's that threat, and that threat is player controlled. And, it has caused enough scares. I think the huge difference of having Jason rather than an invented enemy it's twofold. A, that hockey mask is so damn iconic. It's just, we know what that is supposed to mean. Also, from just an art standpoint, and you can see it in the movies, it's so white that you have this thing that you can see
in the dark,
even from a distance, that will start to say, oh, you're in trouble. That, we're also using the help of Harry Manfredini. I pronounced it. He created the music.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And that will be in the game.
Fuck yeah.
How it will be incorporated, we don't know yet. And he's also be designing other music for the game. So you're going to have all of these fun elements that are playing upon both a sense of memory and sort of a sense of fun inside the game to just kind of get that anxiety going. This is the one game ever my wife has said she wants to play.
Wow.
So I know there's something right that's happening.
Good. I mean,
it sounds awesome. It sounds like you're hitting on everything you'd want from this kind of game, and definitely from a Friday the 13th, fans perspective.
Yeah.
Seeing the trailer, it like you hear the VO from the mom and stuff. Do you think there will be like story elements to this, or is it just multiplayer?
The core of the game is asymmetric multiplayer. The ultimate stretch goal would be the inclusion of some single player elements.
Nice.
I wouldn't campaign. I'm not gonna say campaign. I think it's more gonna be stuff that's gonna sort of test you out. To really appreciate it though, we need to have that much money to do it. Because to program the AI for Jason, I mean, that's very unique AI, because he has to have almost like superhuman awareness. but he has to move in a particular way, and obviously he has to come across as believable. I mean, there's a lot of complexity in trying to make an enemy that you might think is kind of more rudimentary and dumb.
On that note, is there, looking at other asymmetric experiences like Evolve, people had a lot of concerns by that. I know that Sony's working on Kill Strain now, and we have some other examples of this. Is there a concern, any sort of concern that without single player functionality that the game will live or die based on the amount of people that play it, and therefore, like it seems like, in other words, it seems like people seem to have more of a problem with multiplayer games being only multiplayer.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. And the reason why I feel confident that this would distinguish itself from it is this isn't skill based in the same way. Dying in this game should prove just as entertaining as succeeding. Remember, if you die, you will see one of many creative inventions that Tom Savini came up with. Also, it's when you play a lot of multiplayer, even like asymmetric or otherwise, depending upon what other people are doing, it can become very frustrating. You can just keep on getting stomped on. And there's that certain need, like, okay, I'm going to have to play 4 or 5 matches in a given evening to kind of get that experience where I feel like I've had enough. The more I think about playing this game and that it violates a lot of the rules of what you're supposed to do in a multiplayer experience, you're trying to avoid people, except for one character is the only one. You're playing hide and go seek, really. And that allows for, you could have, I think the reliability of a satisfying experience, and if something goofy happens between one of you, like if one of your friends isn't that great, they will cause added new tension because, they don't know how to carry the part or they can't suddenly be fixing the car. It's like, no, come on. That it's a very different type of experience than what you would normally associate with multiplayer. And yes, as you play the game, you're going to have skills that carry over and you'll be able to improve the characters that you're playing. But the real fun, I think, is just in that instance. I think it'll be very, very fun with friends. And I think especially as people get known for playing Jason really, really well, I mean, it can become like, hey, let's see if we can get this guy and see if we can scare the absolute crap out of us and we can somehow make it out from under him.
On a surface level, it strikes me as going into the direction of what I liked about Left 4 Dead versus Evolve, right? Left 4 Dead was like, oh, cool, just jump in. We all there's differences to our characters and our loadouts or whatever, but they're all basically the same. So you can get down to actually, how are we getting over the problem at hand right now?
Right.
Whereas Evolve was, I'm a trapper and I'm going to put down the dome and do this and do you know how to interact? And I was like, that's complicated and you need a team to roll with. Whereas this you could jump into.
Even with Left 4 Dead, and I think you're right, is all 4 players needed to kind of be firing on all pistons and working in concert with one another. And here you could be on some part of the map and never see another counselor and just say, I'm just gonna go it alone and see if I can go really quiet and try to get over there, or maybe try to hide in one place. It's highly inadvisable to hide in one place. There are aspects because Jason will have certain skills.
I'm assuming he has some kind of vision or some kind of ping ability.
Because if you're hiding underneath the bed, well, we can't ask the person playing Jason to be like,
look
under the bed.
Yeah.
He knows you're under the bed and he puts a knife through it. And so through that kind of skill that he has, the longer you stay in one place, the easier he will be able to sense that you are there. So it will be in your best interest to try to move around and see, and not just be sitting around. We have to keep people moving through the map.
Yeah.
Right.
So, what interests me a lot about this is being able to balance the kind of supernatural, super badass guy that can kill anybody as soon as he sees them, but then also kind of making sure that the counselors, that the ones that other people are playing as, don't feel video game overpowered. Because in video games, you instantly kind of have the sense of I can run fast and jump and do all this crazy stuff. But how are you guys how are they making sure that the characters aren't overpowered in a video game sense, but also aren't too underpowered that they can't do anything?
Right. No, and this is this is stuff that they're working on right now. I mean, because unlike even other asymmetric games where there still is some sort of sense of balance, albeit very, very different, Jason is supposed to be overpowered. Yes, you can kill him, but it is going to be extraordinarily hard, and the amount of risk you're probably going to take on, because you're probably going to have to do it with a lot of other people. That is your bird in the hand. I mean, you're going for the bush. So you want to have him overpowered to have that, but the counselors will have skill sets. We are going to have the girl next door. We're very aware of kind of what those stereotypes are. They don't want to talk too much about those specifically because that is what is being worked on.
Sure.
But there are certain edges that you will have that will help guide your decision making when you're playing that particular character.
Well, what are some examples of that? Like even not specifics, but just like what could earlier you mentioned.
Let's say that there's someone who, probably one of the male characters with a pair of glasses is going to be a little bit better at mechanics. So if there's a car, but you need to get the car parts. So people are going to get the car parts. If he's the one who's actually fixing the car, you're just going to be able to do that much more quickly. So something, of that nature. A jock would probably be stronger. So he could handle some melee attacks. So if Jason does appear, he might be able to sort of push him back a little bit so everyone has a chance to run. There's going to be a handful of stat categories. And so some characters will be obviously superior in some versus others. Obviously, no one wants to go into the specifics of what the stats are because that's what we're figuring.
And I assume you've talked about, fixing the car or the boat has 2 seats and all that, but you're fixing the boat and stuff. I'm assuming that if to kill Jason, is it basically like a mousetrap kind of puzzle where it's like we all are like, we're doing this, so you set up this part and you do this, and then we all run?
That is still in decision, and I've even chatted a little bit about. I mean, that is one of the biggest decisions to make because A, it has to be believable. B, it has to really respect that this is not. It doesn't really get accomplished in the movie, so it has to be something that it makes sense and it asks enough of the player. I know that there's a few ideas that they're kicking around. I mean, these are the discussions I cannot wait to start having. With the team
I can only imagine.
Once we get through this Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It sounds cool. I don't play multiplayer games very much, mostly because I don't like to have to stick with a game and progress in something that's. So this, honest to God, and it's not just because you're here, we're talking about it. This sounds like a little more intriguing in a game.
Well, because you could jump in and ignore everybody.
The other thing is, I think this is going to be the kind of multiplayer game that is for adults with normal schedules. That, you can play 5 matches in an evening. You'll probably have a great time. You can also, if you can get your friends together all at one time, have one match. And it's still something you're going to want to be talking about because there will be events and we'll have that kind of just sort of organic way of the fun emerging and you're trying to work together and probably there's someone screwing up. I mean, I think one of the things I always struggled is, to tell a narrative inside of a multiplayer game. That usually in Call of Duty, there's just so much going on. It's like people playing basketball, but, there's one ball for every 2 people. So it's just chaos. Here, there really is a sense of a beginning, some type of middle, and some type of end, or maybe multiple ends, is all the counselors.
Inevitably get die.
It sounds cool. Yeah, I think it sounds really cool.
It's cool. I mean, in a lot of ways, it sounds like Until Dawn, but just with multiplayer. And I feel like this is a really cool take on that. And I'm in the same boat as you, where it's like I'm very intrigued to be able to play a multiplayer game just in little slices and just be like, that was a cool experience. I can either do it again or not.
Yeah, because you don't have to worry about progression and skill level and matchmaking.
Or a bunch of 12-year-olds who are developing their skill set at this game at a rate far faster than you are because that's all they're devoting their time to.
Right, exactly. That's a huge turnoff to me for multiplayer games. So this sounds
I agree.
I mean,
that's exactly how I feel about multiplayer games. I play them very infrequently. Also, I hate the sense of in co-op sometimes that burden. Like I don't want to be like the rock for you have to carry up the hill.
Yep.
Once again, I just think this answers for a ton of those issues and that it can appeal to both a casual and an experienced gamer because it's offering something that doesn't have a very easy corollary.
Yeah.
With that said, will there be some sort of I don't want to call it a progression system, but some sort of experience system that will reward you with aesthetic things or things that don't really affect the gameplay, but like
no. You may be able to. There will be something to progress throughout it, and I'm not going to go so far as to say it may only be aesthetic. I mean, there is an attention to the sense that you should be rewarded if you want to stick with it. But once again, it's not competitive in a normal way. So if someone is more advanced than you,
it doesn't really affect.
That doesn't really affect
a jock
your
runs
experience.
faster.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
No, interesting. Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds really great. If you guys are interested, which you definitely should be,
Yes.
head to the link below. You see it right here. Kickstarter for Friday the 13th, the game. Yes. It looks awesome. Check out the trailer. It's at 150 now. I'm really interested to see where it's at. People tweet at me when you see this episode. Let me know where it's at when after this is over.
Cool. Everything's looking up.
Oh,
he's writing down the time code.
Oh, okay.
Kevin had to go get his car fixed, so I'm looking over here at the clock every so often.
Yeah, I like that a lot.